This is Byron Lazine and Nicole White, and you are tuned into episode 172 of The Real Word.
Word is up.
We've got a topic, Nicole, here leading off about lumber costs that we've covered on our local radio shows a couple of times. We've talked about it at length, but not here on The Real Word, so we've got to address that. We've got some tactics that'll help you win your buyer offers in Racket number 2. And then Marketeer, some YouTubers doing some really creative stuff on luxury homes. Let's start with Racket number 1, of course. Rising lumber costs add $36,000 to new home sale prices. Nicole, we've actually had the CEO of our local home builder remodeler association on our local radio shows on Saturdays and Sundays here. And, one of the struggles that they've been dealing with in the association is just this, the ability to actually get material and then the cost of the material shooting up at such a rapid rate where builders are actually stopping, which seems crazy in this market.
I mean, finally, it feels like new construction has come back. Well, at least up in the Northeast.
Well, the demand for it is there, but they're putting a lot of these projects on pause because of the uncertainty of these costs.
Right. I mean, that's what's so sad and so scary about all of it is, and during the pandemic, it was really hard for builders to get the materials. But now, even if they're able to get the materials, the costs continue to skyrocket. Roofing, plywood. We are even working with a developer now that he uses steel, so he's not using wood, but Amazon is actually putting a little bit of a damper on that too, because they're dominating almost a third of the steel industry right now. So it's happening in all corners and walks of this new construction business.
Yeah, and like with plywood or something like that, where they make the plywood, if they have to shut down, the factory for a certain period of time, that pushes everything back. CNBC said the bump in labor costs has tacked an extra $35,872. That's where we got the $36,000 onto the price of an average new single-family home. A piece of unwelcome news for buyers already struggling to navigate a red-hot market, of course. And I've heard of stories. I actually think I heard somebody call into the Dave Ramsey show where they were like, I started building my foundation last year in 2020. And we never locked in the cost of my materials. So now the house costs like X amount more than what we had planned, and I don't have that much money saved, and I've got this foundation poured.
Right.
And the builder's like, sorry, like the cost of materials have gone up so dramatically. And by the way, the article that we're referencing is an Inman article where you can get all these numbers, and they link out to that CNBC, and there's a Wall Street Journal article if you wanted to really do some digging on this. But you can just talk to the developers and the builders in your market. This is across the board. Everybody's dealing with this.
Well, right. We even talked about, refresh my memory. Somebody emailed you a letter that came from a builder, right? Where the buyers were able to back out or something. Because it was, if the prices got to be too excessive or maybe there were.
Friend of the show, by the way, JD Manning in Arizona. I'll bring that up here right now. I'll find that Instagram DM, I believe it was.
And I think he sent you the letter that they were sending out. And even builders are giving these refunds for these properties too. And it could go either way. The builder could back out. The buyer could back out. I mean, usually builders are not allowing buyers to back out. But I
just sent the letter to Bobby, so we can put that up if you are watching right now. And I'll read some of this letter for everybody listening. Since the COVID-19 pandemic hit over a year ago, we have been on constant alert and scrambling to manage our labor and material goods. So this is coming from a home developer in the Arizona area. The supply disruption caused by the pandemic, the Texas freeze that they note here, and evergreen barge in the Suez. What do they say? That canal? Suez Canal? Suez? What's the Suez? Some canal. Remember the canal that the barge that got stuck there?
Right.
This is what's impacting their suppliers and their producers of raw materials as reasons to why the supply chain has yet to correct itself. It seems every day there is a new supply chain and or labor shortage. They go on to talk about how they are out of this roof sheathing that is no longer available. And they currently have 1,100 homes under new construction. It's a lot of homes. Two-thirds of which have none of this roofing solution as of today. So basically what they did, and they never have done this before, is that once they take a $20,000 deposit and pay for the material or order the materials and pay for the permits, in this letter it states that they never will give back those deposits. But they sent this letter out saying, in these unprecedented times and in fairness to our consumers, we have decided temporarily to suspend this policy, and for a limited time, customers who are uncomfortable with the uncertainty and delivery of their home or simply cannot wait have the opportunity to cancel and receive 100% refund on their homes. Now, not in this letter, but in the DM, JD's like, yeah, and they're putting these homes back on for more money.
Have to.
Well, because the demand is so high and their costs are so high, so I get it. I'm not saying
you have to.
that there's anything wrong with that. And they have the demand, but they were, for the first time ever, giving people back these non-refundable deposits, and maybe a strategic move there to get out of these contracts.
Potentially.
And then go ahead and then put that cost up. But they cite all these reasons why these materials have gone so high.
Well, so what a domino effect, right? Because we're also talking about there being an inventory shortage. So the individuals that are probably doing these new constructions are probably move-up buyers, right? And they were anticipating or planning on putting their house on the market to sell because, again, they're probably an entry level. But now that they can't get these homes built, they're probably not putting their house on the market. But again, on the flip side too, these individuals may have already sold their home and they're in short-term rentals, thinking that the construction was really only going to take, maybe 9 months, 12 months. And now, not only are they not being built, if they're being built, though, then their budget could potentially be going up. The whole thing is sad and horrible, and it's just so unfortunate because, again, these builders really have been seizing the moment, but at this point are almost unable to.
By the way, Nicole, side note, because I'm in this Instagram DM right now, on Monday, JD sent me Greg Hague. Everything comes back to Greg Hague.
Everything comes back
to our Stop Zillow guy from episode 1.
Arizona. What's happening?
Go all the way back to episode 1 of The Real Word. Everything comes back to him eventually. He's rolling out 72 Sold, which we've talked about here on the podcast before, in Cincinnati. He knows this because he has a new TV ad that has been playing all weekend in Phoenix. I don't know why he's playing the Cincinnati ad in Phoenix, but anyways, a little update there for you. To wrap this up, what's a racket is that there's no inventory, and it's the perfect time for builders to be going out on spec. Spec's been risky, and certainly in the markets that we deal with over the last 10 years. Now, not so risky at all,
right?
And it's a little hard to go out and build for spec. So that's hopefully the hope is this is going to straighten out, and some of these costs are going to come down, but it goes to show you that, like, while the Fed is saying, oh no, don't worry about inflation, it seems to be there's inflation all around us, where the cost of these materials is one example of everything going up in price and the dollar being worth, a little bit less. So something I'm certainly going to pay attention to. I know everybody listening to this will be paying attention to it for their market, because you want to be able to educate your client. Like, okay,
well, and not just that, but honey, if you're going to build a deck on your house,
right, or
you were thinking about doing a renovation, it's certainly going to, thank God my husband and I did our roof when we did back, I think we did it last summer or last spring. Cause just to put new plywood down probably would have,
plywood has more than doubled. So
it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So
hopefully that'll correct itself. Racket number 2. Everybody's got this situation. Buyers in a bidding war, and Jimmy Burgess over here on Inman, who we've covered a few times now. Jimmy, shout out to you. There's 15 tactics, he says, that help them stand out to a seller. We'll go through the 15, but there's one in particular that we wanted to talk about, right, Nicole?
We did.
You did.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying
did.
Yes.
That would be
did.
You did.
We did.
You did.
I did.
All
yes.
right. Let's get into. He breaks it up into categories. So money being one category. Escalation clauses. Absolutely. I think everybody's using that right now.
I agree with it. It's very interesting, though, because I feel like every time I've had an escalation clause on any of my offers, my sellers are always like, well, if they're willing to take their highest offer, I'll take their contract. So
yeah, they just want to go right to the top.
let's just go right to it. Yeah.
I don't want to stop at rung number 3. Let's go to rung 10 here. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So.
And you see escalation clauses versus escalation clauses. And I've had this question from new agents like, well, which one is the winner here? It's the one that's the highest. That's the winner.
Right.
All right. Number 2, appraisal gap guarantees. That's a good one. That's a good strategy.
You have to. I mean, because every seller in this market is asking what will happen if it doesn't appraise.
Yep.
So definitely a smart way to approach it.
If you can take the appraiser out of the equation, that's a valuable approach. Seller closing costs. Is this the one you want to talk about?
Well, this is a very interesting approach, and we talked about it today a little bit in our team meeting. I mean, it's sort of a brilliant move. I mean, obviously, then the seller can decide, because if you're so who has the biggest expenses in a transaction? A seller, right?
Correct.
So here in this situation,
all the expenses, right?
The buyer is offering to pay, well, a majority of them,
a lot of them, but big expenses.
Yes, yeah, because of conveyance and all. The buyer is willing to pay some of the seller's closing costs instead of the reverse. I think it's genius. Obviously, in that situation, the seller can decide, instead of you giving me the 1% for the conveyance, let's just, tack it on to the other side, but which would be silly too, because then your conveyance and all your expenses go up anymore. But I think it's a great move. I have never seen it on a contract. I actually thought that it was a very interesting thing to process and definitely pass along to the team.
Figure out what's important to the deal. How can I be creative here? Because as Jimmy writes in the article, price is one thing, but the bottom line net to the seller is what really matters. And that's when we're talking about commissions or offers, it's showing them how much money they're going to be getting in a wire transfer into their bank account. That's what they care about.
Right. Yep.
Timing is the next category. Closing date window, right? This is important for a lot of sellers.
Yeah, I think it is interesting. They're kind of recommending you give a range. But I also think that it is really
pick your closing date. Go ahead.
Pretty much. But again, I mean, you talked about in the meeting today, I think you just talked about it a minute ago. I tell every single agent I think over communication right now with listing agents is going to win you the deal. If you've called me 4 times, like, I know that you're going to communicate me with, like, during the deal, you're trying to find out what my seller wants, what's important to my seller, and I'm able to actually dictate to them what I want. So I don't know that you necessarily need a window if you are over communicating, but certainly a way to do it if you don't feel like having a conversation with the listing agent.
Over communicating, but the mistake too many buyer agents make is they're doing all the talking at the listing agent. That's a great way to lose the deal. Ask questions, shut up, put your phone on mute if you have to, and listen, actively listen. And the solution to your buyer's problems are often going to lie in the answers that listing agent, if you give them the opportunity to speak, put yourself on mute. Listing agents love to talk. They'll talk all day. They're going to talk and talk and talk and give you information. You can use that information to put your buyer in the best position. So actively listen right now is very key.
Right.
Post-closing move-out date. So, bridging the gap there in terms of, like, we'll close. You can stay in your home for another 2 months. Like, it's a little tricky with attorneys, but that can work. You got to really.
Well, what's really interesting, so I had a deal too where one of my sellers was like, well, I'll just rent back for a month after we list it. And I was like, well, but oddly enough, again, this buyer was renting. They wanted the house enough that they could stay in their rental, that was huge for my buyers. Yeah. They're paying a huge premium for the month, but for them it was ideal because the house that they were buying needed renovation. So it's a good way if you can do it.
As is contract. I only recommend this for the more sophisticated buyer. I mean, when I buy real estate, I do an as is contract, like no inspections, none of that stuff. But I'm doing real estate every single day. I'm very in tune to what's going on. If you're a first time home buyer, I never would really suggest an as is contract.
No. And I think that you need to educate your sellers on that though too. Cause I mean, we have sellers now that hear like, oh, they're doing it for informational purposes only, but it doesn't mean that they're not going to come back to you, but it also, I mean, most good buyer's agents are going to put an inspection in there. And
it's not the right solution for everybody. So that it's one solution for, I would say, a smaller segment of buyers. Right. Sellers own home search. So helping them out with their search. What are they looking for? Can I line them up with something? Right. If they that's their biggest
I'm hearing
objection. They
you.
can't find a home, you know? So
Right.
if you're going to help that listing agent out,
You have to. Well, especially if it's going to be contingent on them finding suitable housing. Why wouldn't you?
listen, this is a team effort. The buyer agent, the listing agent, what can we do together? What resources do we have to solve the problem? We're problem solvers. Cash offer. Yeah, of course. If you have cash, sure. That's a good one. All right. Bridge loans. Love this one. Our brokerage, Ravis, does bridge loans. You know, there's a lot of bridge loan options out there, but if you can at least have the conversation around a bridge loan, great conversation to have. It shows that you've got more solutions for them. A guarantee penalty. Offer a guarantee that if the sale doesn't close on the set closing day, then you as the buyer's agent will pay the penalty to the seller. No bueno for me as the buyer agent. There's just too many things that are out of your control as a buyer agent.
Way out of your control.
That now you're gonna pay a penalty because the attorney
or because the buyer
COVID?
didn't hand in, or because the buyer didn't give like a bank statement.
Yeah,
No way.
I mean, come on, that one to me. Jimmy's got an example here. Mary Maloney, the founder and owner of Hometown Realty, powered by EXP in San Diego, California, told me she provides a $5,000 guarantee that the home will close on the agreed upon date. I mean, she's got a great relationship with the lender, it says, and that even if she misses one or two transactions, she'd rather win the deal. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know. California's got a lot of paperwork, and so this is in San Diego, California. I don't like this one at all. I think this is a huge racket. I can't control the attorney. I can't control. We just had a deal that got pushed back 2 weeks because the appraiser's like, I'm 2 weeks out. And so then we had the listing. It was an agent on the team. Lee had the listing. He goes back to, the banks, the buyer agent to the bank. Can we get a different, and I know this is on the buy side, but I'm just saying.
Different appraiser?
Can we get a different appraiser? The bank says no. Now, I guess this one, Mary says she's got a great relationship with her lender, and maybe she can strong arm them but maybe all the appraisers are 2 weeks out. And now you're getting hung up on 2 weeks where you're paying a penalty, a $5,000 penalty guarantee.
Yeah.
Because the appraisers couldn't get out there. Or they say, you know what? You keep bothering me, little agent. I'll come out there and appraise it. Well, you're not getting the report for 2 weeks because I'm behind on getting my report out to you.
Right.
I don't know. That seems crazy.
I don't know. All right. You got 4 minutes.
Oh, my gosh, I do. Approved financing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. We like that one because I don't have any time. Patience. Yes.
Well, this is beyond the offer. You have to have patience. You have to have communication.
Letters.
They're saying letters.
We're saying no. Although
we're saying no to the letters.
I like the cover letter idea, Emily, on our team.
I did see the cover letter,
like
giving the
that.
highlights. I will say that I do get a lot of letters. I don't actually give the letters until after they've accepted the offer, where I can then give them the letter and they can see exactly who's moving into the house. But
going the extra mile.
Obviously.
Always and forever. That's how you
right,
build trust in this business.
Always the right answer.
Okay, moving on. Marketeer of the Week. That article's linked up. If you're on YouTube, you can check that out. All right. YouTubers spotlight luxury homes, which helps drive demand. Both amateur and professional are turning to real estate marketing videos that offer a look inside the mansions of the ultra wealthy. There's a agent here, Enos, who has more than 820,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel, posting tours of the priciest homes in the country. So, here's the play, right? If I've got a luxury home, I'm hitting up, and he's in from penthouses in New York to Lake Tahoe. He's going all over the place. So I'm calling up Enos saying, hey, yo,
right.
Can you come up and do a vlog, a tour of my property, man? What do I got to pay you to get exposure on your 820? That's the play for an agent.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, they're even talking about TikTok too. I mean, I know that the topic says YouTubers, but yeah, I mean, they're having TikTok stars come through.
Yeah.
I mean, how great is that? I mean, their Instagram photos are going to be amazing if you get one of these beautiful homes that are on the water. I mean, I think it's smart. I think I don't know that a 24-year-old TikTok star is maybe the right.
True.
They may not be generating the right clientele, but you're definitely going to be hitting some views.
And I wouldn't do it with TikTok unless I think there's an opportunity for PR to pick it up. Right. One of these publications. I would go YouTube because that's searchable on Google. And when people are searching I'd go with a YouTube star personally. And this is the investment it takes to build a long-standing business. Agents, wake up and stop counting every penny in your commission and think about the next deal, the next 100 deals, the next 1,000 deals. Think about your brand. Stop counting commissions. This right here, investing on top of everything else you do, on top of your listing package and everything your team and your brokerage are providing you, going the extra mile, this is how you win clients for life. This is how you get to your next 1,000 deals, not counting the commission on this one deal because you have a high-end listing. Go for it. Go for the gold. Build a real business in this industry. That's what it's all about.
On that note.
That's the marketeer of the week. That note. And look at that. I finished with a minute left. We have a great real word confessional coming up. So if you're seeing this, probably like within the next 24 hours of this release, you're going to see the real word confessional for this week. We've got Jeff Mays from the Tom Ferry ecosystem, speaker, coach, runs a brokerage in Virginia, been in the real estate business for many years. Wealth of knowledge. You're going to want to check that out. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss any of our podcasts, and certainly the confessionals, which have been a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. A real lot of fun. I think what's really nice is that you get to really meet and understand people a little bit more intimately. I've enjoyed it.
For sure. All right.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you. We'll see you guys next time. Keep it real.